I can't believe you talked about the breakfast. All right, there's going to be more of that, just because that's something I often thought about in a rather different way. I'm really honored and pleased to be part of this tonight, or this afternoon, or whatever it is. I'm an early Americanist, and I am probably the only person in this room who has never taught or even taken a course in Southern history. So to me, it's ironic, or maybe it boggles the mind, but I think it's really telling that some of the most rewarding things that I've done and learned as a historian came as a result of my connection with John Boles' Journal of Southern History. Many years ago, as a young scholar and an aspiring contributor to the journal, like pretty much everyone else here, I benefited from John's talents as an editor, his vast knowledge of history and historians, his thoroughness, his commitment to balance and diversity in the journal's contents in terms of topics, in terms of approaches, in terms of chronological periods. A lot of people here have already commented on the quality of the journal's contents during John's 30-year tenure. That's self-evident. It's obviously incredibly praiseworthy. That's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk more about my sort of personal relationship and what I've learned from my interaction with John and with the journal as both an author and later as a member of the board of editors. What struck me most then and now was John's kindness, his, dare I say, Southern hospitality toward authors, even authors from New Jersey, and even authors who were pretty far down the food chain in terms of scholarly publishing. In the mid-90s, I lived in Sweden. I was there because of my husband's job, and I'm not complaining. It was awesome. And I wrote a lot when I was there. And I submitted 2 articles to 2 different high-profile journals during that time. The other one will be nameless, but one of the ones I submitted was to the Journal of Southern History. And at the time, I had no track record writing Southern history. I had probably never even been to an SHA meeting. So I'm not even really sure why I chose to submit to the journal, but I'm really glad that I did. I got smart, helpful, and really personal, insightful comments on my work from John and from his very carefully chosen, entourage of readers. What are there, 4 or 5 of them? There are lots of them, and they're all really smart. And his comments and the comments of the readers made my essay a much better one. But the experience also made me sort of a convert to the field. So I guess to the extent that I have become a Southern historian, and I kind of am. I'm like the program chair, right? So I guess. Thank you, David. It's probably because of this experience with the journal, despite the fact that President David Goldfield, my friend and colleague in UNC Charlotte, had always tried to convince me that I needed to forget about the New York stuff that I'd been doing and instead go Southern now that I was in North Carolina. I think the experience with the journal succeeded in a way that David's, come on, you got to try this, didn't really. My appreciation for John and for the journal increased exponentially after I joined the editorial board in, I thought 2001, but it says on the thing 2002, and since they fact check, I think they're probably right. Probably more than any other top-tier history publication, John's Journal of Southern History has been a meritocracy. And I just can't tell you how admirable I think that is. And really how remarkable. For 30 years, John has selected people for the journal's board of editors, and the people that he's chosen have not been just a bunch of big names from prestigious institutions, though there have, of course, been plenty of those. but rather they've been smart and hardworking scholars from all sorts of institutions, including some very small colleges with very big teaching loads, and also second and even third tier public universities. I appreciate that. As John liked to tell us, we were a working editorial board. We weren't just there for decoration. I think that each and every one of us worked hard to meet his high standards. I know that I did. John's editorial board meetings were for meeting too, meeting and eating, as Gaines told you. I learned a lot from those meetings as we discussed the annual report, as we talked strategically about the future, as we always, every single year, bemoan the enormous backlog of book reviews every year. There are thousands, there are hundreds, there are whatever. And as we plan commemorative issues like the one for Jamestown in 2007, if you haven't been on the editorial board, you might not know that those are early morning meetings, 8 a.m. meetings. And as Gaines said, they come with a big Southern breakfast. Personally, I'm an oatmeal girl. And I often felt like I needed a nap after those meetings, but I never regretted attending them. So let me end with this before the cowbell starts. I think one of the reasons why I'm here is because I can talk fast. Recently, a colleague asked me how to decide which professional service to do and what to turn down. In other words, what's worth doing? We're all overworked, right? So how do we decide what we should do and what we should kind of punt on? Well, I began my answer by talking about what I consider to be my two top priorities. Priority number one, activities. Activities that were just too fabulous to turn down, either because they're intellectually interesting, because they're fun, or maybe they're even profitable, like you can make money off them, so that's cool too. So that's one set of priorities, activities that are just absolutely great. The other set of priorities, though, is people. People who you just admire or respect too much to say no to, people who are just so good to everyone else that you would feel like a total creep if you didn't do what they were asking. And of course, by now you've probably all figured out that John Boles is in that category. So whether it's reading an essay, reviewing a book, or eating meat in the morning, I'm sure I'm one of the many people in our profession that can never say no to John. Thank you.